The untold story of Paul McCartney's 5 children. The weight of a name, the priceless burden. This moment changed everything for Paul McCartney. The day he realized his unparalleled fame wasn't a gift to his children, but an invisible cage, and the truth about their quest for identity, hidden in the glare of the spotlight, shocked the world. The McCartneys were the picture of a bohemian rock and roll family. But behind the gates of their secluded farms, 5 children were wrestling with a legacy that was both a blessing and a heavy burden. This is the untold story of Paul McCartney's 5 children, Heather, Mary, Stella, James, and Beatrice, and the surprising paths they forged away from the shadow of a Beatle. The world knew the music, the millions, the knighthood, but the world didn't know the tears, the private struggles, and the quiet quest for a normal life under the most abnormal circumstances. This story matters now because it is a raw look at what happens when the brightest star in rock history tries to simply be Dad. The shocking fact? Paul and Linda actively fought to make their children's lives ordinary, taking them everywhere, even on the Wings World Tours in the 1970s. Linda would cook vegetarian meals for them on the road, and they were sent to local schools wherever the family settled, rejecting the Hollywood bubble for a grounding in reality. This fierce commitment to domestic normalcy was their first, most controversial stand against fame. The genesis of a myth, Paul and the perfect family facade. Paul McCartney's rise is the stuff of legend. From a council house in Liverpool to the biggest band in the world, a mythical journey. When the Beatles collapsed, Paul did not. He simply shifted his immense creative energy to the band wings and to his new family. He wasn't just Paul McCartney the icon. He was James Paul McCartney, a man determined to be present. Visuals of their life in the 70s show a contradiction. Paul on massive stadium stages, then immediately cutting to grainy footage of him feeding farm animals with his kids. This was the myth they built, fame on the outside, a secluded farm life on the inside. Linda was the driving force behind this philosophy, insisting that the children needed a stable, loving environment more than a life of constant celebrity luxury. They divided their time between homes in London, Sussex, and their farm in Scotland, each location designed to feel like a true home rather than another hotel suite. This intentional bohemian upbringing was groundbreaking for celebrity parents at the time. Yet, it created its own set of unique pressures. Imagine being a child in a public school, knowing your dad wrote Hey Jude, then coming home to a private jet. Stella McCartney famously recalled the surreal whiplash of hanging out with Michael Jackson 1 minute and being back on a horse in a field the next. The children learned to be deeply suspicious of the outside world, fiercely protective of their privacy, and deeply dependent on the tight, almost cult-like intimacy of the family unit. But as the children grew, that protective bubble became the crucible of their own identities. The end of this perfect phase, and the first major cliffhanger, was the adoption of his first child. The first secret of the McCartney family wasn't about fame, but about identity. It was about Heather, the adopted daughter, Heather's silent battle for self-creation. The world saw 4 McCartney children, but there were always 5. And what the world didn't see was the delicate, complicated story unfolding at home, starting with the eldest, the child who carried a famous name but a different bloodline. Heather Louise McCartney, born in 1962, was Linda's daughter from her first marriage, a fact that was public but often overlooked. When Paul adopted her in 1969, he gave her his name, but he couldn't remove the pressure of being the Beatles' first child. Heather experienced a complex duality, adopted but unconditionally loved, yet constantly aware of her unique position within the family structure. The press and the public were never sure how to place her, often leading to speculation and intrusion that the other children did not face in the same way. Heather pursued a life far from the stage, finding solace in pottery and design. She studied printing at the photographer's workshop in London and later focused on ceramics, eventually launching her own line of houseware products, Heather McCartney Designs. This career choice was a deliberate act of seeking a craft where skill, not fame, was the metric of success. Yet, even this escape was fraught. Her first major exhibition of her line was in 1999, shortly after the tragic death of her mother, Linda. This loss was a retention beat for her, forcing her to step into the spotlight she always tried to avoid, using the launch as a way to process grief and honor her mother's creative spirit. She wasn't seeking fame, she was honoring the legacy of creation her mother instilled. To this day, Heather maintains a quiet, almost reclusive life, a silent testament to the difficulty of forging an identity in the shadow of a legend. Her personal journey reflects a profound effort to define herself outside of the famous family portrait. While Heather sought solitude, the next child found her purpose through the lens of their mother's world. Mary McCartney, capturing the unseen legacy. Mary Anna McCartney, born in the tumultuous year of 1969, arrived just as the Beatles were imploding, a moment of profound change for the family. She inherited her mother's artistry with the camera. Mary was literally immersed in the art, spending her childhood in Linda's Soho darkroom, witnessing the magic of an image appearing on blank paper. This early exposure to the behind-the-scenes moments of life became the curiosity that defined her career. She became a highly respected photographer, specializing in portraiture and, crucially, capturing the unseen moments of celebrity and family life. In 2022, she directed the documentary If These Walls Could Sing, turning her lens on Abbey Road Studios, the sacred space of her father's history. This was her second retention beat, an act of confronting the legacy head-on, not running from it. Directing a film about her father's most famous ground was an act of profound reconciliation with the source of the family's fame, but through her own artistic filter. Mary's career is a study in acceptance, using the proximity to greatness she was born into to create her own distinct narrative. Unlike Heather, who withdrew, Mary found her own power by engaging with the very world the McCartney name opened up, but always with a subtle distance and a focus on authenticity. Her commitment to her mother's values extends beyond photography. Like Linda, Mary is a staunch advocate for vegetarianism and has published several cookbooks, hosting her own Food Network show. Her life, raising 4 sons, is arguably the most stable, yet most deeply connected to the source of the family's fame, proving it's possible to manage the name without being consumed by it. But it was the next child, born into rock and roll royalty, who would demand her own kingdom in a completely different court. Stella McCartney, the rebel queen of fashion. Stella Nina McCartney, born in 1971, was the rebel, the most fiercely independent. She famously told British Vogue she was a farm kid who was suddenly meeting Michael Jackson, a childhood of surreal extremes that gave her a unique, grounded perspective on the artificiality of fame. From an early age, Stella rebelled against the expectations of her name, choosing to make her own clothes as a teenager and setting her sights on the demanding world of high fashion. She interned under Christian Lacroix in Paris, determined to learn the industry from the ground up, refusing to rely on her father's contacts for advancement. Her big moment came in a drama-filled third retention beat. At just 25, she was named creative director of the legendary House of Chloe. It was a controversial appointment met with industry skepticism, immediately dismissed as nepotism by many fashion critics and rivals. Stella's response? A sensational, critically acclaimed run, proving her name was earned, not inherited. She introduced a youthful, modern aesthetic that revitalized the classic house. Crucially, when she launched her own eponymous brand in 2001, she did so with a defining and non-negotiable principle: no leather, no fur, no animal products. This radical ethical stance, a direct homage to her mother Linda's vegetarian activism, made her the pioneer of sustainable luxury. Today, her global ethical brand is her own monument, a legacy built on boldness and vegetarianism, carrying on her mother's values in a new, powerful medium, achieving a level of fame and success entirely separate from the Beatles. The daughters had all found their way, but the son, the namesake, faced the crushing expectation of carrying the McCartney musical torch. James McCartney, the struggle for his own voice. James Louis McCartney, born in 1977, was the only son of Paul and Linda, the final child of their 30-year love story. He had his father's hands, his face, and his first name. James is, in fact, Paul's first name. But this birthright was the greatest hurdle. The weight of that name, the expectation to be the heir to the most influential songwriting legacy in history, created a crippling artistic pressure. James struggled to find his own voice. He is a musician and songwriter, and his early career involved contributing subtly to his parents' solo albums, including Paul's Flaming Pie, 1997, and Driving Rain, 2001. But when it came to his own solo work, the comparison was instantaneous and brutal. He even performed under a different name initially, attempting to buy time and space for his own art to breathe, a clear indicator of the immense psychological barrier he faced. His journey has been a constant, visible struggle for authenticity, a cathartic fourth retention beat that resonates with anyone who has tried to emerge from a powerful shadow. James has spoken openly about the pressure of living up to the impossible standard of being the son of Paul McCartney, describing it as both a deep inspiration and a heavy anchor. His music, often introspective and acoustic, is a testament to this struggle, an honest attempt to carve out a modest space in the colossal shadow of his father's genius. His latest album, Beautiful Nothing, is his continued brave effort to be seen simply as James, the artist. James's struggle was compounded by the arrival of a new, unexpected chapter in Paul's life, and a daughter who would live with a different kind of public scrutiny. Beatrice, the private child of public fallout. Beatrice Millie McCartney, born in 2003, is Paul's youngest daughter and the only child he had with his second wife, Heather Mills. The circumstances of her life were drastically different from her older siblings. While the others were born into the shielded counterculture bubble of Paul and Linda's private life, Beatrice was born right at the beginning of her father's re-entry into high-profile public drama. Her early childhood was defined by the ugly, public, and highly scrutinized divorce battle between her parents, a media spectacle that splashed across global headlines for years. The sheer negativity and intrusion of the press during this period were unprecedented for the McCartney family. Consequently, Paul and Heather Mills fought fiercely to keep Beatrice out of the spotlight, understanding the devastating impact public drama has on a child. Beatrice is rarely seen in public, and there are virtually no details about her life outside of her commitment to school and her academic aspirations. This intentional privacy is her defining feature. Beatrice is the most unknown of the McCartney children. Her story is a final, private retention beat, a silent question mark about the true cost of inherited fame in the modern, hyper-digital world. She represents the contemporary dilemma of the celebrity child. How to retain a childhood and an identity when the entire world has a camera. For Paul, protecting Beatrice became his final, most urgent parenting task, an acknowledgement of the lessons learned from decades of life under the global microscope. Transition. Hook, the paths of all five children, Heather, Mary, Stella, James, and Beatrice, all lead back to one moment, the tragic end of the mythic love story, fame's fallout and the bond of shared grief. The true emotional climax of their collective story is the loss of their mother, Linda, to breast cancer in 1998. It was the moment the myth of the perfect, insulated rock and roll family shattered, and Paul himself confessed he cried for a year. This shared tragedy forged an unbreakable bond between the four older siblings. It forced them to step forward, not just as children of a rock star, but as keepers of their mother's ethical and creative legacy. From veganism to photography, they found strength in their unity, actively supporting one another's careers and personal lives. Stella and Mary, in particular, became pillars of this shared grief, channeling their mother's passion directly into their work and public advocacy. The family circle tightened, finding comfort in their shared memories and the knowledge that they understood the unique, often lonely pressure of their lives in a way no one else could. Their individual successes, Stella's brand, Mary's photography, James's music, are all, in a way, a testament to the values Linda instilled: art, nature, and authenticity. This deep emotional core, rooted in their shared past and their mother's enduring influence, is the genuine, untold story of the McCartney family. It shows that even in the brightest spotlight, the most powerful force is simply family love and the enduring strength of a matriarch's values. Final revelation and reflection. The greatest untold truth of Paul McCartney's life is that for all the accolades, all the hits, and all the money, his legacy is not measured in Grammys or knighthoods. It is measured in the quiet, complex resilience of his 5 children. They were born into a world of impossible expectations, but each one, from the reclusive artist to the global designer, found a way to step out of the shadow and sing their own authentic tune. They are not just the children of a Beatle, they are the living, breathing proof that even a man of myth can simply be dad. If you're new here, please like and subscribe to join our journey through these untold stories. But if you are already part of the things that make you go, family, we have 2 crucial requests. Engage the legacy. We want to hear your thoughts. Which celebrity child, born into a life of inherited stardom and pressure, do you think has forged the most unexpected path? Tell us your pick in the comments below. We read every single one. Ring the bell. Don't miss the next chapter. If you are drawn to the hidden truths behind the stars, make sure you tap the notification bell so you're the first to know the moment we post. While you wait for our next cinematic investigation, the hidden truths behind other legends are waiting to be uncovered. Check out our playlist right now for more untold stories of celebrity families who lived in the shadow of fame. The next tragic, hidden chapter is only a click away.